Hey everyone, I wanted to record a short video explaining how to craft a really cool introduction for your essay. So welcome to the jungle. This is a guide to introductions. Hey Rock, he looks pretty cool. All right, so first thing to remember about introductions is that first impressions really matter. You never get a second chance at a first impression. So you've probably heard this before, but it's just as true in essay writing as it is in life. You want to engage your reader as much as possible, and guess what? For now, your reader is me. So you want to grab me by the shirt collar and say, listen to what I have to say. The claim I'm making is really important. So to do that, we want to create a hook that's going to engage your reader, set the tone for your paper. Sometimes papers can be, humorous in nature. Sometimes they're very serious in nature, but we want to set that tone almost immediately. And also, it's a chance to really establish your voice as a writer. Obviously, you don't speak while you're writing a paper, but your paper is speaking for you. So what kind of voice do you have? What kind of writer are you? Okay, so here are some ideas. If you're stuck, like, I don't even know how to start a paper, here are some ways you could start an introduction. The first one is a startling fact or a bit of information. So this startling fact is about the Salem witch trials. But whatever your book focuses on, try to find maybe an interesting factoid about it that would maybe shock your reader or really grab their attention. For our book, The Things They Carried, it's centered around the Vietnam War. So there are some really startling facts about the Vietnam War. What is maybe something that would maybe startle me? You could also try starting off your essay with a snatch of dialogue between two characters, especially if that snatch of dialogue is very impactful or very maybe emotional. Tim O'Brien in The Things They Carried, he has a lot of dialogue with a bunch of different characters. And it's usually about something really important. He probably even has dialogue about the theme that you're writing about. So if you can find a really impactful bit of dialogue between characters, that would be a really cool way to start off your essay. Another way you could start your essay is with a meaningful quote. The example here is, to be or not to be, that is the question. That's a really famous quote from Hamlet. But maybe in your novel, there was a quote that stuck out to you and you highlighted it, or you underlined it, and you annotated it, and you were like, yeah, this is it. This is what this book is all about. If there's a quote like that that you think would be really good to start off your essay with, it kind of sets the tone for the rest of your paper, give it a try. There are two more ways you could start your introduction. You could start with a big universal idea. The example here talks about terrifying scenes that a soldier experiences. That could work for The Things They Carried. We already are kind of exploring big universal ideas with our themes. We're talking about how O'Brien believes, what he believes about those themes. So maybe you could introduce the big universal idea and try to explain what everyone else believes about it. And then lastly, it would be really cool if you could describe the setting of the book in rich, vivid detail. Tim O'Brien does a really good job of really describing Vietnam and the way it makes the soldiers feel and the way it makes them hear things and see things. If you could take some of that and use it to really set the scene for your reader, that would be a great way to introduce your paper. And here's just a little side note. Rhetorical questions like, have you ever wondered why, or did anyone ever think of whatever? Okay, those kinds of rhetorical questions don't really work well for hooks as higher level essays. Here's a good rule of thumb. You don't want to make your reader do any more work than they have to. And that sounds kind of silly, but what I mean by that is you are the one who needs to connect all the dots for your reader. If you're asking your reader to ponder a question that is only kind of sort of related to your essay, they might get distracted, they might get confused, and maybe they don't want to have to think. Maybe they just want to read and see what you have to say. So typically rhetorical questions like, did you ever think about the way, soldiers return home from war and no one likes them, or whatever. Maybe that's not the best way to start your essay. Those typically don't work well. And a few last things to remember that should always be in your introduction. obviously your claim or your thesis statement needs to be in your introduction. Typically, it's towards the end of your introduction paragraph, but it could kind of be really wherever. You also need to include the author and title of the work, reference them as naturally as possible. If you did this in your claim, then you're good. You don't have to worry about it. But if you don't have the author and you don't have the title of the book in your claim, include them somewhere in your introduction. And then lastly, if there is anything specific that we need to know that for a specialized topic, give us a brief explanation. If there's something that we don't know, maybe it's diction, maybe it's jargon, try to explain it in a natural way, but just briefly so we are all on the same page when we're reading your paper. And those are some tips about how to introduce your essay.